never come back again. It's gotta get cursed. It's gotta get cursed.
Drop.
Welcome to the Death Curse Club. I am your host of Set Establishment and Spooky Central, Zach Hilton. And once again with me on this great adventure, I have the one, the only, the spooky fire himself, Jim. Hello, Jim.
Hello, support the Pooniverse.
Don't you bring that shit into my show. You do that on your show. You do that on your Patreon show, Jim's Fantastic Adventures in the Pooverse. Not here. Here.
Good place. It's a good place to be.
Here at the Death Curse Club, which you can follow on Instagram and Threads. We have a YouTube where you can see these videos. Or if podcast is your pleasure, you can get us on Pod Apps, Apple, Amazon, Spotify. We're on all those bad mammy jammies. But here, this man wants to come up into this show and talk about the Pooverse, and I won't have it. I just won't.
You're missing out.
Am I though? Because here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm at in things. Because we're living, which is kind of apropos in the conversation we will have in a little bit. But like horror, as I have said, especially for 2025, I think there's a vast like pleasure of whatever kind of horror you like, whether it's more of a thinking horror, whether it's more spooky, or if it's slasher or whatever. There's great like it costs $20 million to make. It costs $50,000 to make, and things like this. I know I'm going to catch hate for this, but like, when I think of things like the Pooverse and when I think of things like Terrifier, I'm very much not in the camp of like, do I need to see these? Now, I have said I do plan on watching Terrifier 1, 2, and 3, specifically for something that we're going to talk about. But something like the Pooverse, which I think it just comes across as blockbuster video, Jack Frost hologram box that you see, and that's what it's coming off to me. Am I wrong?
A little bit. I mean, just it's not that it's high quality. I think what I like about it and why I was sold on it from the first movie in the opening like 10 minutes is when we were talking about stuff before about it being believable within the world we were given. They gave me an explanation for this world, and they said, "Hey, Winnie the Pooh happened." Then all the Winnie the Pooh stuff happened. Right. And then Christopher Robin goes off to college. They're left to fend for themselves. They run out of food. They end up eating Eeyore, and they kind of go feral. And this is all like the animated opening sequence that this is given to you. And I'm like, okay, you gave me a reason. This wasn't just a horror movie where Winnie the Pooh's a killer, or this isn't just a horror movie where someone's dressed up like Winnie the Pooh. You gave me a reason for it.
So,
and I was happy with that.
My question to continue on with this, from the trailers that I've seen, it looks like Pooh's a human.
No, like it's Pooh.
So it is. It's like a bear.
It's a Pooh. It's a Pooh. Pooh's not a bear. Pooh's a Pooh.
Oh, bother. Does he say, oh, bother?
He does not speak.
God damn it. Okay, look. Here's how many movies currently are in the Pooverse?
There's been 3 released. Okay, so 3 released in the theater, but there's only 2 on streaming.
So there's Blood and Honey 2, and
then Peter Pan. Peter Pan was released in the theater.
Wow.
And then
I thought
Bambi's
Blood
this
and
year.
Honey 2. I thought Blood and Honey 2 got the.
Well, I think they all got limited theater, but the 2 Pooh movies are currently on Peacock, where Peter Pan is not yet.
How the fuck did they get on Peacock?
I don't know, but I know we're getting Bambi and Pinocchio this year, and I think Pooniverse might be this year.
Now, when you say Pooverse, you mean all of them?
Yeah.
Like there's an Avengers-style movie?
Yes.
This year?
Either the end of this year or the early next year. After Bambi and after whatever I just said. Pinocchio.
Well, you might have convinced me to jump on if there truly is an Avengers style movie coming out
Yeah.
to watch. If they're on Peacock, it's not hurting
Yeah.
me, which I can do a review for leading up to said Avengers movie. So keep me posted of when that's supposed to go down.
Right.
Because I might give it a go. I might, if I'm willing to give Terrifier a
And I
go.
will say, Blood and Honey 2 is much better than 1.
That's what you said. And I'll be honest, from watching the trailer of that one, it did look like, okay, we got a little bit more of a budget. Kind of the Terrifier thing, where it's low budget, we used our money, and then 3 just looked like a full-blown movie that should be on Shudder or Screambox.
Yeah.
But,
Which they even give a in-movie explanation for why 1 looks the way it does.
wow. In the movie of 2?
Yeah.
God damn it, Jim. I wanted to hate this so much, and now you're kinda giving me cause to watch. Ugh, fine. I'll give it a go. So our main topic for today that I wanted to get into is something that's near and dear to my heart. As you know, I had a former podcast very devoted to it, Hunter's podcast, where we really dived into the Halloween Horror Nights past, present, and even future in some cases. And I had a blast talking about it, and it got to the point where I don't know if my voice was really needed or wanted anymore of said conversation, because, and that's in podcast in general, I think, especially with something like Halloween Horror Nights, vlogging it and stuff pretty much took the forefront of any kind of information or thoughts, because it is a visual aspect. And being that I live in Virginia, I don't have a lot of visual aspect to bring into the situation. But that being said, during my time of that show, there was a point where we would discuss spec maps, and we would, do we think this is truly coming? Do we think this is a good idea? What are our thoughts? They give us originals, yada, yada, yada. And I don't like talking spec map stuff usually, but a spec map did come out from, and I don't want to mess up the people's name because they worked hard on it, so I want to give them their props. Hollowed Out Horror. They did a spec map, and that's the thing about spec maps now, is that there are a bunch of different accounts out there doing these things. It wasn't just one that once they're look. I'm not getting into it. Zach, don't do that no more. But so Hollowed Out Horror came out with the spec map, and I have the spec map here, and I want to talk to you, Jim, about it, because Jim, you went to Halloween Horror Nights 2 years in a row, HHN 24 and 25.
If you say so.
Well, 25 was the big trip for all of us, and if you did 2 years in a row,
I did the year before that.
Oh no, you did the year before that. Yes, yes, yeah, the year before that, which was 24, because that's the one that had Alien vs. Predator.
Okay.
And then the following year's Freddy vs. Jason. So really what I want to do here is look at this spec map, and as a guy who has no want or care to go back until, I would imagine, a certain IP, because I would say an IP would bring you back.
Potentially. I mean, if something did, it would be an IP.
Right. But, and just so the watcher, viewer, listener knows, what kind of IP would be the thing to bring you back to Halloween Horror Nights?
I mean, my first thought is Hellraiser.
Yeah. No, I get that.
That would be my first. Something that's going to be like visually worth it for me. Something, not just like, oh, I like that movie.
Right.
And it's not just about, I don't want it to be just about the characters. I need the atmosphere.
Yeah, like you have to feel like you're in that hell. Like once, even if you're in a house, it doesn't even have to follow Hellraiser the movie.
No.
Strictly, it could be like, oh, look at this box. Oh, this box has opened up here, and we are fucked.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I was screaming that from the rooftops the 6 years that we did that show. So this is the spec map. This first version. of it that actually labeled some names, because the other team loves to like, oh, we throw cartoon pictures at you and you're supposed to guess. And did we get it right? We got it right. Did we get it wrong? Well, we never said it was a cartoon. Anyways, but stop it. Here we go. The spec map we have here. So they label it Nocturnal Nightmares as one house, the Horrors of WWE, Five Nights at Freddy's. They wrote Amazon Original Fallout. I think it's actually the video game, because then you don't have to get the IP rights of certain people's faces. Mm-hmm. So I think that a mystery IP, Dolls, Terrifier, was that say Demon Cowboys? Yeah, sure. Demon Cowboys, Unknown Original, and Vikings. So my thing is, and I put this on the Death Curse Club Instagram, I put out there, I was like, hey, this year for HHN, if this was the event that would come out, would you label it as a fire year of houses, a meh year of houses, or just not into it? 42% said it was fire, 50% said it was meh, and 8% said not into it. Jim, I just told you that IP. What are your feelings on this HHN map?
I mean, my first thoughts is probably not that into it, and that the 40-something% that's super fired up about it are probably Terrifier fans.
Yeah, that's very fair. I do feel, out of all the IP that is showing up there, the Terrifier one, I do feel, is the big kind of like, oh yeah, the horror fan is getting what they want. The thing that I see out of the rest of it, even including in Terrifier, and you could come at me, I don't care, nothing about this says A-grade horror. Nothing about this is moving the needle for pop culture. And I mean like massive pop culture. I'm talking Stranger Things pop culture. I'm not talking Terrifier, which made $50 million in theater. That's cool. Halloween made over $100 million in theater. That's a grade A horror. Ghostbusters is a grade A horror. Like, I look at this map and I wonder, like, who do we kind of fire?
Well, I get what you're saying. I mean, I think Terrifier could work really well because you do have the set pieces you can do, and you have a character you can build around. So that works, but I do get what you mean by not having that A-list thing, because for years you had Walking Dead, and then after that you had Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. And now you don't really have either of those, but I don't know what you replace those with, because I think it's too, like, we haven't had a season of Stranger Things in a while, and though, you get the final season this year, it's a little late in the game to try to throw together a house, because I don't think they're going to be sharing a lot of information with stuff.
So that's kind of funny that you say that, is because I feel they were working on the Stranger Things house of the last one before they announced it, before the house was, or the show was out. So they did get information. They did get like scenes and stuff like that. And I just want to go back real quick of Terrifier. I think that is a great IP to have at HHN. What I am saying is, I don't think it's that marquee one that brings in the masses. No. I think Terrifier brings in the horror crowd.
Yeah, it's not a headliner.
And now I look at the other thing when it says the horrors of WWE. So for the past, I would actually say from 2015 on, there has always been some kind of rumor Bray Wyatt house, between just the Fireflies to the Fiend, all these versions of it. And then he passed away, so obviously it's kind of going to go away for a bit. But there was rumor of the Wyatt Six house recently. Now, this map says the horrors of WWE. And you know wrestling as much as any other guy. Do you think it's specifically being called the horrors of WWE because they're not guaranteeing that the Wyatt Six are going to stay around till October, in a way?
I mean, basically, I mean, I think it's a situation where, yeah, that was probably the plan to do the Wyatt Six, and then they're like, oh, this isn't really working,
Right.
because they're hardly ever on TV.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't really done anything. They kind of remind me of after Brody Lee died, and what was that? What their group?
Oh, Dark Order.
Yeah, the Dark Order, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, the Dark Order is this like all of a sudden this fan favorite kind of act riding off of Brody Lee's death, and that's kind of, and I'm not saying that in a negative way,
Right.
but that's what this reminds me of. Like, it's just kind
Mm-hmm.
of like this. It's just there to go, hey, you really like Bray, so we're gonna give you this, but we
Here's
don't
his
actually have
brother.
anything to do with it. They're not
Yeah.
competitive. They're not going to win any
Right.
titles. They're just there.
Well,
Um,
like
yeah,
watching that first week they came out, the first couple of weeks they came out, I thought they did some really cool, creepy shit that would transition to a fun house. But like you've said, they haven't been around. And even if they do, I don't know if it captures the audience enough to keep them around by SummerSlam. Now, do you keep them off TV to bring them back into July so you can almost guarantee a cheap popish, like it's not stagnant because they haven't been around? You can kind of reform it. Like Alexa Bliss could join it if you want. If you want to F around, the Demon Film Balor can join it or something like that. Like, there are obstacles that you can hurdle over to make this work, but I'll be quite honest. I don't think Bo Dallas has the capacity to be that like big
yeah.
leader. And I think that's the main issue here because I don't mind the other guys. I love Eric Rowan. I think Loomis is decent, especially with them being a tag team and stuff. They're just and we're talking heavy on this because I think WWE is a risky IP move because they're, as much as I enjoy it, I did it, there is still that kind of flack out there of being like, oh, it's fake. Why is there a WWE thing here? You know what I mean? Like, that's a risky play.
Yeah, I think, well, at least I think by labeling it horrors of WWE, you can go into a bigger widespread mainstream spectrum of The Undertaker, and bring in things like that. And
And
that's your money.
And that's what I think you do. I think you come in with Kane. I think you have The Undertaker, Mankind, The Fiend. I think if you
Boogeyman.
honor the Boogeyman, Papa Shanga, what are we doing?
Vince McMahon shitting on people.
Absolutely the horrors of WWE. I think if you do go that route, it's a little more obtainable of an idea, especially with, like you saying that the merch itself excites me.
Right.
Instead of the Wyatt Six merch, which we don't need, but a shirt with Undertaker, Kane, Mankind, Fiend, Boogeyman, Vince McMahon shitting on hands, all that excites me to wear.
Oh, and especially if you can throw that HHN logo on there, that's perfect for you.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Now we're going up my kind of alley. So I think if it's not the Wyatt house and it is horrors of WWE, that all works. I think the mystery IP, the reason why I don't think it's here is because I do think it's a massive one of like a Stranger Things, of a um I don't know any other massive shows.
And that's what I was going to say. Is there anything out there? And I don't know there is either.
If it ain't Stranger Things, if we're just going by shows, I don't think this is massive, but I mean, Fear Street is an option, especially with the movie coming out later this year. Is
Wednesday?
Wednesday is an option, but I mean, Ghostbusters worked, so I can't fucking argue this. So I guess this is where I want to move the conversation to kind of finish up this section. is it I'm just too old now to get excited by this speculation because the other one that could be Beetlejuice, like that's a better bigger one for me. But that, like, looking at this, if we're going off of it, Five Nights at Freddy's, Fallout, Terrifier, even current state of WWE, it's everything today. There's not a nostalgic, huge IP. Even the years when HHN was like their big IPs were classics, Poltergeist, The Shining, An American Werewolf in London. Like, none of that is showing on that map.
No, you don't have anything from the 80s necessarily, or 90s even for that matter.
And I think if you want to wow the world, and again with the mystery, this is the only thing that I can think of that would be mystery enough that, not mystery, but like pull that pop culture crowd, as I was calling it. Scream. If it ain't Beetlejuice, give me Ghostface. It's almost happened like 4 times, and I kind of feel like this is the time to do it.
Yeah, it's about that time. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't done it, or at least done it even a couple times by now, to be honest.
Well, they almost did it in 2012 or 13 or 4. No, I'm sorry. Maybe even 15. But when they got the rights to do it, MTV stepped in and said, no, you're not doing the movie. I need you to do the TV show, because that's what we're promoting is the TV show. And I think they made the right call of just, that's why we got a Purge House instead, is because MTV tried to take over the house once it was already being made, and the deal got lost because of it. I don't know. I just look at that map. Again, I don't like talking about it because I know it's not going to be the final. I know there's going to be IPs that get lost. I know there are going to be some. I mean, even Fallout on this list, originally it was supposed to be The Last of Us 2, but it's not happening. So, like, I look at that list and it does not excite me. As a guy that loves going to HHN, like who's recently figured out how to do the Rush of Fear and all that, that makes me want to go one night and say I did it.
Yeah, I don't care about Five Nights at Freddy's. I never have, and I didn't like the movie at all.
Right.
And then Fallout falls into that category of something like, yeah, okay, I like the show, but it doesn't really, there's nothing about it that makes me go, oh yeah, I need to walk through that house.
Right.
I think Last of Us works a little bit better, but you're going to get the feeling that if you went through all the Walking Dead stuff, I think you're going to get the feeling you've seen it before.
Right. Absolutely.
And then some of the other stuff just doesn't interest me at all.
It's just, and I can't go off of this just because these are basically code names, not real names, I think. But if the original houses are Nocturnal Nightmares, Dolls, Demon Cowboys, and Vikings, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, like, Demon Cowboys. Demon Cowboys sounds stupid.
I don't.
Doll sounds like something we would get at Busch Gardens.
Right. You know what's funny? That's kind of how I feel, is that now the Demon Cowboys, the only thing I can think of is, I don't think it was our year. I don't think you did this, but there was a house called Slaughter Cinema.
Yeah,
they sequelized it last year, and one section was a cowboy like bar demon thing. If it's that, okay, I don't know if it the dream thing about Slaughter Cinema that I loved is that it was all things that they knew that wouldn't work as houses, but would be a cool ass room. And when I look at last year's, I feel exactly that. Like, they had a Mardi Gras murders room. They had a big giant fucking shark who was in the pipes of the city. Like, these kind of things work in one room.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if any of these originals are giving me like that. The Floridians love their originals. None of this screams like, oh, top tier idea.
I think the first one, I know you keep saying Nocturnal, it's Nautical Nightmares.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And Nautical Nightmares sounds interesting in a way. Like if you give us the illusion of being underwater, then I feel like okay. If it's just going to be stuff like coming out of the water like tentacles, then it's not the same. But I want to be like deep underwater where you can see like a giant shark coming at you. You can see, all that stuff. Then it's a little bit more interesting.
So they did a house recently that kind of gave off Abyss meets Aliens meets Fish People house. Mm-hmm. And I will say this about HHN. They have cornered the market of making you feel like you're in water, or at least about to go in. Like they did the Quiet Place 2, where the whole dock sequence, perfect. They did False Camp Crystal Lake, and like you see the water. Like they do a really good job with water now. So special effects. Sorry, I've been calling it wrong. I don't have my goddamn cheaters next to me, so that's on me. But Nautical, I'm fine with. Like that would actually probably be my most anticipated original. That all being said, to wrap this up, Jim, looking at this, does this scream travel to Orlando to HHN?
I'm not sure I would travel to Busch Gardens, but I definitely would not travel to Orlando.
Okay, that's honest to God all I needed, because and the reason why I picked you is because like I have many people review it, Rob, Mr. Wonderful, Brooke, all these people, we can all dive into the meat and potatoes of why we choose yes or no. I needed to see an outside source, someone who hasn't been in 10 years this year. Like, I needed to see if this is something that would make someone go, I need to go on vacation during Halloween to this. And I'm not shitting on like the event. Obviously, this is a spec. But I'm just looking at the paper they gave me. If I was doing that, the voting, it would be, nah, I'm good. It'd be, nah, I'm good. And you're talking about a situation where Hollywood seems to be getting their own IPs that are completely different. HHN Vegas opens up in August.
Which I would be more interested in doing that.
Right. So there's a lot about this year that just outside things. Epic Universe has Dark Universe, the Universal Monsters section. There's so much more that I'm interested that has the name HHN basically, except this Orlando event. And that is wild to me. I don't know if there needs to be a permanent change. I know Mike Aiello left, but he's doing some kind of consulting thing this year. And I think it needs to be more than consulting. I think we need a brand new team to head this thing because everybody else is spread thin doing other things. But we need to get this Orlando thing back. Next year is the 35th, I believe. Next year is the HHN 35. If you're not all on hands on deck on that year, I don't know what we're doing.
I'm available to organize it.
Okay, I'll reach out. I'll reach out to him. I'll go through the media contact that I know, and we'll see if it happens.
Yeah.
Jim, you want to plug anything before we go?
No, I'm good. I already did with the Pooniverse.
There it is. Plug in the Pooniverse. Go find the Pooniverse on streaming consoles right now. All right. Once again, you can find us every week doing this show. Follow us on Instagram, Threads, Death Curse Club. What are your thoughts on this HHN year? What are your thoughts on the Pooniverse? Leave the comment down below. We want to talk. We want to conversate. We want to do the whole thing. So we'll catch you next time. Spooky later.
Never come back again.